In 2018, when a 13-year-old girl rode her bike just under a mile to her friend's house, she likely had no idea that what would happen next would shake Nepal's collective consciousness forever. This was not just a case about a young girl going missing or being harmed. What unfolded would raise serious questions about the country's justice system and police negligence. Questions that, even 7 years later, remain unresolved. This case is about Nirmala Panta, how justice can feel so close, yet remain so far. To understand, let's go to Nepal, often called the roof of the world. Though small in size, Nepal is rich in culture and history. Nirmala, 13, was a regular teenager. She attended Sarasvati Secondary School in the 9th grade and lived in Bhimdutta Municipality, Kanchampur district. At home, she lived with her mother, Durga Devi, her older sister Manisha, and younger sister Sarasvati. Nirmala had no brothers. Her father, Raj Panta, disappointed with not having a son, had left Durga Devi years earlier, leaving the family behind. Yet, Durga Devi loved her daughters deeply and did everything she could to support them. She worked tirelessly to ensure her girls received an education, despite running a small street food stall to support the family. Life was challenging, but this family persevered. Every day, Durga Devi would cross into neighboring India to earn extra money by carrying goods. Imagine the risk involved in such work. Still, she never gave up, determined to give her daughters a better life. On one hand, she earned the money. On the other, the girls helped at home and at the small food stall. On the morning of July 26, 2018, everything seemed normal. Durga Devi left early for work, and Nirmala planned to visit her friend, Roshni Bam, to complete homework together. Around 11 a.m., she left for Roshni's house on her bicycle. It was only about half a mile away, so there was no reason to worry. After all, children this age often go to friends' houses, school, or tutoring. At Roshni's house, Nirmala stayed for about 3 to 4 hours. She studied and likely chatted with her friend, just a normal day in the life of a teenager. Around 3 p.m., she left to return home. That was the last time anyone saw her. Her family tried to report her missing, but the police initially refused to file a missing persons report, claiming it had only been 1 day. They asked Durga Devi to wait until the next morning. By the time action was taken, it was already too late. The next day, July 27th, a local man found Nirmala's bicycle near a sugarcane field. Further search led to a horrifying discovery. Nirmala was found in the same field, just 500 meters from her friend's house. Her family was devastated, not only by grief but by anger. They had reached out to the police in time, but negligence meant losing their child. They refused to proceed with her last rites until justice was pursued. The initial investigation revealed serious issues. Evidence was mishandled, and police officers were slow to respond. The night Nirmala went missing, Inspector Jagdish Prasad Batta was reportedly drinking beer instead of taking action. Crime scene protocols were ignored, and evidence was contaminated, similar to high-profile cases in India like the Arushi Talwar case. Even during transportation of her body to the hospital, proper care was not taken, destroying crucial forensic evidence. Public outrage grew as news spread across Nepal. Senior police officers arrived at the crime scene 4 days later, despite nationwide demands for justice. The story quickly captured national attention. People were shocked that a 13-year-old girl could be murdered so close to her home. Protests erupted across Kanchampur and other districts. Citizens demanded immediate arrests and transparency from the police. Social media amplified the outrage, with hashtags calling for justice for Nirmala trending across Nepal. Authorities tried to act, but their response only fueled suspicion. Initial suspects were arrested and later released due to lack of evidence. Every investigation seemed to stall. The family's pleas were ignored at times, and public frustration grew. Meanwhile, forensic reports revealed that Nirmala had been sexually assaulted before her death. This fact intensified the anger of the community, yet the police failed to follow proper investigative protocols. Local journalists reported that key pieces of evidence, such as her clothing, fingerprints, and footprints, were either lost or mishandled. Witnesses claimed that officers pressured them to change statements, further complicating the investigation. The Nepalese government, under immense pressure, promised to involve senior officials to ensure justice. A special investigation team was formed. However, corruption and bureaucratic delays slowed the process. Months passed, yet the family still had no closure. Durga Devi, Nirmala's mother, became a symbol of resilience. Despite unimaginable grief, she appeared in public protests, demanding that the authorities act. Her determination inspired many Nepalese citizens, especially mothers, to raise their voices against systemic negligence and call for child safety reforms. International human rights organizations also took note. Reports criticized the Nepal police for incompetence and mishandling of evidence. They emphasized the urgent need for reforms in investigative procedures and better protection for children. Amid all this, Nirmala's sisters, Sarasvati and Manisha, struggled to continue school. The trauma affected them deeply, and many friends of Nirmala could not comprehend the sudden loss. Psychologists later noted that the emotional impact of the case spread beyond the immediate family, affecting entire communities in Kanchanpur. As months turned into years, repeated investigations failed to deliver the justice Nirmala deserved. Public trust in the police eroded, and the case became a symbol of both societal failure and the resilience of those seeking justice. Despite this, the memory of Nirmala remained alive in the hearts of the people. Candlelight vigils, memorials, and marches kept her story in the public eye. Every year, on the anniversary of her death, families, friends, and activists gather to demand accountability, reminding the authorities that Nirmala's case cannot be forgotten. In the following months, several other individuals were brought in for questioning. 2 neighborhood residents, Pradeep Raval and Vishal Chaudhary, were initially accused after police interrogations. They allegedly confessed to involvement, but when forensic testing was conducted, none of their DNA matched the samples collected from Nirmala. Once again, the authorities were forced to release them. This pattern of arrests, false confessions, and releases repeated multiple times. The family's frustration grew with each failed attempt. Durga Devi and Yagya Raj began to lose faith in the system, realizing that the justice they sought depended on more than just their pleas. It required accountability from the entire law enforcement structure. The Nepal police, meanwhile, faced increasing scrutiny. Senior officers, including Superintendent Dilip Rajbista and Inspector Jagdish Prasad Batta, were criticized for negligence and mishandling evidence. Reports surfaced that critical parts of the crime scene had been contaminated, much like other high-profile cases in the region. Witnesses described police carelessness, such as officers being inattentive at the scene or mishandling key evidence, including clothing and personal items. Despite the setbacks, Nirmala's parents continued to fight. They traveled long distances, including a 35-hour journey to Kathmandu, to meet the Prime Minister and the President. Their goal was to ensure that their daughter's case remained a priority. The President refused to meet them, but Prime Minister K.P. Sharma Ali did, offering reassurances that the perpetrators would be held accountable, no matter their position or influence. However, ground realities remained harsh. With no actionable plan or sufficient evidence, police investigations struggled. The family continued to experience repeated disappointments as suspects came and went without resolution. Every failed investigation reinforced the tragic reality that justice for Nirmala was being delayed, and with each passing day, the chance for immediate closure slipped further away. In December, additional suspects from the local neighborhood were arrested. Yet once again, forensic evidence failed to link them to the crime. DNA testing consistently returned no match, creating a cycle of arrests and releases that offered no real answers. In January 2019, Durga Devi's blood sample was collected for DNA comparison, confirming that the DNA evidence recovered from Nirmala did indeed belong to her daughter. This validated that the initial forensic process, although flawed, was on the right track in identifying her DNA. Still, the question of who committed the crime remained unanswered. Over the following months, hundreds of DNA samples were tested, including from family members, neighbors, and other potential suspects. Despite testing more than 120 individuals, none matched the DNA from Nirmala's body. The case remained unresolved, leaving one critical question. Who had harmed Nirmala, and how had this person managed to evade justice for so long? By mid-2019, the case had grown into a national concern. Media outlets across Nepal and beyond began covering the story in depth, highlighting both the brutality of the crime and the repeated failures of the investigative system. Public outrage grew, and social media campaigns demanded accountability and justice for Nirmala. Activists organized rallies and candlelight vigils, ensuring that the young girl's story remained in the public eye. Every gathering emphasized the same urgent message. The authorities needed to act decisively, and the perpetrator could not remain free. The Nepal police, feeling immense pressure, formed a special investigation team, SIT, to focus exclusively on Nirmala's case. This team included both local and national officers, forensic experts, and legal advisors. Their task was to review all evidence, re-examine witnesses, and bring clarity to the conflicting leads that had previously stalled the investigation. During this period, attention shifted toward family acquaintances and local individuals who had initially been overlooked. Witnesses recounted minor details that had seemed unimportant at the time. A shadow seen near the house, a suspicious phone call, and unusual behavior from someone who lived nearby. Each account became a critical piece in reconstructing the timeline of events leading to the crime. Meanwhile, Durga Devi and Yigya Raj became increasingly active in advocacy, reaching out to NGOs and legal organizations for support. They hoped that by combining public pressure with formal legal channels, the case could finally gain momentum. Their determination inspired many, and Nirmala's story became a symbol of both tragedy and perseverance in the fight for justice. In September 2019, after months of painstaking work, the SIT narrowed down a list of potential suspects. Forensic reevaluation played a pivotal role, with advanced DNA testing methods now available to verify matches more reliably than in earlier investigations. Officers also revisited the neighborhood, retracing the movements of each suspect and comparing them to witness statements. Despite these efforts, the investigation remained fragile. Several suspects denied involvement, while others had alibis that could not be immediately verified. Each lead required thorough cross-checking, forensic verification, and legal documentation. This painstaking process consumed months, but the SIT understood that rushing could compromise the integrity of the case. By the end of 2019, the investigation had produced a more focused direction, though the ultimate resolution still lay ahead. One thing was clear: Nirmala's case had exposed systemic gaps in the criminal justice system, highlighting the need for better forensic practices, stronger community policing, and more rigorous oversight in handling sensitive cases. By early 2020, the investigation had finally led to a breakthrough. The SIT identified a key suspect whose movements, past interactions, and forensic evidence increasingly pointed to involvement in Nirmala's case. Authorities arrested him, marking a turning point after nearly 4 years of uncertainty and delays. During the arrest and subsequent interrogations, investigators focused on establishing a clear timeline of events and confirming the suspect's connection to the crime scene. Each step was carefully documented to ensure that the case could withstand judicial scrutiny. Legal advisors monitored the process closely, aiming to prevent procedural errors that might otherwise allow the suspect to evade accountability. The community reacted with a mixture of relief and cautious optimism. Many who had followed Nirmala's story for years felt that justice was finally within reach, though they remained aware that a court conviction was still necessary to close the chapter. Vigils, media coverage, and public discussions continued, emphasizing that the case represented more than a single tragedy. It was a call for systemic reform in child protection and criminal investigation practices. Trials began in 2020, drawing attention across Nepal and from international human rights organizations. The court proceedings were detailed and rigorous, relying heavily on forensic evidence, witness testimony, and meticulous police records. The legal process was slow, but each session brought the family, investigators, and the public closer to the long-sought outcome. Durga Devi and Yigya Raj remained at the forefront, attending hearings and advocating for transparency. They highlighted the need for reforms to ensure that future cases involving vulnerable children would be handled more efficiently and compassionately. Their efforts also inspired other families and activists to speak out, creating a broader movement for child safety and justice reform. Ultimately, Nirmala's case became more than a tragic story. It evolved into a landmark moment in Nepal's legal and social history. While the pain of loss remained, the relentless pursuit of truth and accountability demonstrated the power of community, persistence, and hope. It served as a reminder that even in the face of systemic challenges, dedicated efforts could lead to meaningful change.